Zhelyaz.
Yep.
Zhelyaz. Oh, for people that are watching this, I just want to spell out his name for you. Zhelyaz. Zhelyaz Tomov.
Yes.
So I'm so honored to have you here. I'm bewildered. I can't understand what's going on in your brain because you decided to reach out to me. You decided that you want us to talk, and you said, I'm gonna take a flight from Bulgaria and come see you. And I was like, no, don't do that. That sounds too serious. And you're like, no, I don't mind. I'm honored to have you here, and I just want to welcome you to South Africa.
Thank you.
It's not your first time here.
It's my first time here.
It's your first time here?
It's my first time here.
I thought you said you've been here before.
No, but
You've just got friends here.
Yeah, I got friends here, yeah.
Jay, welcome to
Thank
South
you.
Africa. I hope your trip was great. I hope you'll enjoy your stay. And I'm looking forward to this conversation that we're about to have. I think before we officially kick off, I don't know if there's anything you want to say about where you come from, the work that you do.
Okay.
And maybe just generally what it is that you do so that people know who Zhelyaz is.
So what I do, I'm a film editor. Basically, I am the guy that's usually over there.
At the back, yeah.
Yeah. And then, when you finish with this, you drop it off and then he needs to stitch it together if you want. So that's pretty much my primary or my main job.
Sure.
And I work on different kinds of projects. And I have a friend here. A couple of years ago, just before COVID, we were like brainstorming about doing something together. And that's where I had my first COVID experience with being colored.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then from then, it kind of got like curious about everything. The more I learned, the more interesting it got. And then coming over here was always on the table. It just never was the right time. And now I was like in between, let's just call it life-changing events. I was in Bulgaria with my mom, and then I told you, like, up until like mid-February, I don't know when I'm going to be ending. Like, if I'm going to stay in Europe, I'm going back to the States. And when I saw your post, I said, okay, let's just see what's going on,
Yeah.
Maybe now is the time to actually go down there. And that's how it happened. And that's pretty much the story.
Brilliant. You're a risk taker.
I think sometimes things just align.
Okay.
And I said, okay, if that works with coming to the podcast and talking about those things, then I also can finally visit my friends that lives here and meet them in person. So I said, why not? I mean, sometimes people say, well, while you're traveling, or, right now. And then my answer to that is when do you want to travel? When you get old and you get sick and
you're tired.
Yeah, and you're tired and all that. No, you have to do it while you still can.
Yeah.
And I also have I learned that the more you get exposed to like different people, different cultures, different viewpoints, the richer you get.
That is
in terms
true.
of a person. So
that is true.
Now I get to say like all the influencers. I've been on 3 continents.
Hey, brilliant.
So,
I've got a very good friend and brother from Bulgaria, Bobby Petkov.
Oh, I've seen some of the videos. Yeah.
He runs a very successful motor dealership business in Pretoria called Mitmac Motors. He's been here since he was a child.
Okay.
But I know that he still has a very soft spot and a huge love for Bulgaria because a big part of his family is there.
Oh, okay.
One fascinating thing about him, which is going to lead me into my first question to you, is I don't think you guys see race the same way white South Africans see race, because I've had the privilege of visiting Russia.
Yeah.
And when you're there and you meet white Russians,
Yeah.
and you meet black people that are not from Russia who have been living there for years,
Yeah.
most of them say Russians are not racist. So
yeah.
Is that the same with Bulgaria, and how do you see race?
Well, we didn't go through the kind of history that white people in Western Europe had. Ours was different.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like, yes, there are racist people over there, obviously.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of like a different way they approach it. It's most like the initial encounter. but once they get comfortable with the people, then I think they're able to see beyond it. So kind of like the personal level.
Yeah.
Obviously, because everybody has a certain kind of or certain level of prejudice, what they know from TV, the kind of brainwash, if you want to call it. So they haven't been exposed, and it's, as I said, it's a matter of mostly a matter of exposure and experience.
Yeah.
And not just go and do vacation somewhere, actually go to the places where people live and maybe engage a little bit with them. So I wouldn't say there is no racism, but it's a different kind of, and it's mostly about the initial encounter. If you stay there for a longer period, especially if you don't like the language, you're gonna have a different experience than if you do the same in the West. That's what I'm gonna say about this. So it's, people in that area generally are very xenophobic towards each other and towards others in the Balkan, like all those countries. But at the end of the day, they eat the same food, they enjoy the same music. It's just kind of like a little bit of a reflex, more if you wanna call it. So. If you go to those countries, you're going to have a different experience than if you go, I don't know, to France or to Germany, for sure.
Okay. The other thing you said that was very interesting is you guys are currently dealing with you're waiting for a new government?
Yeah, because we had a coalition government and they kind of like went apart, if you want to call it that way. And it was like 3, 4, 5 parties, I'm not even sure. Some of them want to do something, the other ones didn't want to, so they kind of like split.
Have you guys had a coalition for long?
I think the last 10, 15 years always been a coalition.
15 years?
Yeah.
So you guys have experience?
Oh yeah.
We have a coalition for the first time now in our government, yeah.
I've heard about it, but it's a different setup here.
Okay.
So with us was coming out of communism, it was like people after 1989, and then people were like, the old people like here were used to one system, and then getting them to adjust to a different one, it took, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
Sure.
They kept voting for like the parties who they could associate with the old order.
Yeah.
So I think I don't like politics because they don't solve anything.
I hear you.
It's mostly getting people excited over nothing, then people start throwing shit at each other for literally no reason. Or my party is better than yours. But at the end of the day, they don't really care about anyone, just about power and money and influence. It's kind of like, I guess, the main drive behind what they do. And right now, the most exciting thing right now is what kind of a voting system we're going to have. Are going to be like machines? Are going to be like manuals? Are they fighting? Because I guess we also have a problem with illegal vote or votes that they buy. And depending on which party you ask, they have interest in one system or the other.
Sure.
And right now they're fighting about that. So it's really not an issue that's going to solve any of the everyday problems, but for them it's an issue of who's going to get the most seats in parliament, and then therefore who's going to be able to put in power the most ministers and influence most of the policies and government contracts. It's the same thing everywhere.
Sure.
So that's pretty much. I mean, I don't follow too much. I just like hear something here and there, but I know it's going to be the same after the ones that are right now are gone, and we get at least partially new ones. So it's kind of like there's been a game since the 1990s. People get tired of parties. They always bring a new savior.
That's
and then
correct.
we had the same problem, and then we heard, and then what we have is after 4 or 5 years, they get exposed, and then you get the next one and the next one.
Same story.
And at least, what's in the public eye, I don't see much of a difference between all of them. You know, sometimes they fight a little bit in parliament. I'm sure you know that. Not as bad as here, but it still happens. So I think for my part, I have more important things to worry about in my life than what party is gonna be governing.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Okay. My last two questions before we get into the topics of today.
Okay.
Why did you choose to get into film editing? And where did you learn your English? Why do you speak English? How did you decide to get into speaking English?
Okay, so to your first question, I was always like a fiend towards like media. Okay. At the beginning, I was trying to do more stuff on the writing side.
Okay.
But then at some point, I got exposed, and I went to like a film school in Germany. That's where I was living for like 22, 23 years.
In Germany?
Yeah.
At what age did you leave home?
19.
19?
Yeah.
To Germany?
Yeah.
Okay. You lived in Germany for long?
Long, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I started, small projects and some assisting on some. And what I found that for me, it's like, especially if it's like a narrative project, be it a short or a long or a feature film, the thing that is really fascinating is how we have to put like a puzzle together, because once people film something, most of the time it doesn't really go the way they want it to.
That's
so
true.
You have to kind of like have some kind of a vision when you go into that, and you should be able to be almost like a forensic specialist. And it's kind of like exciting for the brain. I guess that's kind of give me like a little bit of a trip when I do that kind of stuff. And I believe that is something that keeps me going on that side. As far as the English goes...
Sorry, before you speak about the English, the work that you do is underappreciated. I just want to say.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm just a podcaster, and maybe our editing is not at like a crazy level, but a lot of people don't understand that editing is almost like remaking the movie. With the wrong type of editors, to what you were saying, it becomes a mess. With the right type of editors, even a horrible movie can look like something brilliant. So I just want to say thank you. I've been following the Academy Awards nominations. They're dropping in March, I think on my birthday. And one of the categories that people don't maybe talk about as much is best film editing. And if anyone that understands film knows what editing is, you might find that the reason you love certain movies is not because of the director or because of the actors. It's actually because the editor's got a good eye, good timing, a good ear as well. So from me to you and your industry, thank you so much for the work that you do. It's underappreciated, and we don't celebrate you guys enough.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm sure appreciate the flower. But it is true, and I think if a film project, even a small one, if it has to work, you have to like kind of fit all the pieces together. I always personally hate when they put some kind of a dump on the desk, and then you have to, the expectation is to make something great out of it. Yeah. Obviously, even then you have constraints, so you cannot like make something out of nothing. Sure. But it goes a long way, and that's why you have so many re-edits and corrections, because you need to get to a point when it feels right. So there is no like a recipe gonna spend that much time on a certain project. It's always different. Yeah. Obviously, if it's like a podcast or a more corporate thing, it's a little bit easier to evaluate how much time you're gonna spend. But still, with a podcast, it takes a lot of time, because actually you need to watch what people are saying and not just like go back and forward. And then, are you going to choose the reaction, or are you going to choose the person who is talking? So, correct. For example, it's people think it's a simple question. It is not. So
you're right.
That's something that always kind of like gets under about the whole conversation. Especially generally people who are behind the camera are less appreciated about the work they do. But it's pretty much equally important as the people who are in front of the camera.
Sometimes more important.
Yeah, it depends, but it has to be like a team effort to correct. Make it to get it right. So now we go to the English.
Yes, sir. Sorry, does your name mean anything?
Actually, it does. The first name, yeah.
Yes.
It's a derivative.
Derivative?
Derivative from the word iron. So it's kind of like someone who's, I guess, like a defensive name. It means somebody who is like Iron made of
steel.
Yeah, kind of like if you want to put it that way, more like an American perspective would be like an Iron Man or something.
Iron
like,
Man.
Yeah. If
so your name means steel.
Well, if you put another O at the end, that's the word for steel. So basically, it's the word for iron or steel, except the last.
Interesting. From my language, your name would be Unsimbi.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Unsimbi. And your surname?
Surname, not really.
Okay.
I think it comes from the name that should be like Tomo or something like that back in the day. So in my country, I know a lot of people have surnames that has to do with the work they were doing, like 200-300 where like someone who was a miller. Same thing like in English and other languages.
In English, correct.
Yeah.
Your surname would be linked to the work that you do.
Yeah, so a lot of people had that, but other people had names that were connected to things that they did, not as a work, but somebody who maybe, I know that that's a name that they had, the one that did a pilgrimage to the, what do you call it, to Jerusalem.
Yes.
So that was connected to that, or some connected to places. So it's kind of like a different, but yeah, we have that kind of a.
Okay. And your surname is Tomov.
Yeah.
If it's a woman, you add a.
Yeah.
Tomova.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same like with the Russians.
With the Russians,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and it's always confusing. So like when people they move abroad, and sometimes they get questions if they're actually a family. Because the man is like Tomov and the wife is like Tomova, and then the people will like get confused, but that's not the same name. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like I think in some of the Guni language you also have sometimes you put something in the front.
That is true.
I know, yeah.
You do put something in front.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little bit similar, I guess, and it just says one is just the female name, the other is the male. That's
sure.
the thing, but it's the same name. So I've heard about people like moving like to America or Germany. And then they had to change, so they all had
the same
surname,
okay.
Because in their system is gonna come up like different
two different people,
like
two different
people.
families.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like it's a fraud and all.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's always for people who move to a different culture.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of like you have to get adjusted.
Yeah. Thanks, Zhelyaz. Sorry, English.
Okay, so English.
I'm still taking chances asking you questions that are not even why we're here. But please,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You need to get me like eased up.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So the English, actually, that's an easy one. When I was back in Bulgaria and when I went to high school, I think that's the equivalent you have here. I was in the language school. So the first language we had was German. Second was English. And then obviously when I went to Germany, I learned German to actually speak it properly.
Yeah.
And English was like more on the back burner for a while. But after a couple of years and because of the work, I had to, look more into it and I had to speak more.
Yeah.
And then I was in the States for 3.5 years, so that also helped.
Sure.
I've heard I had a messed up accent because it doesn't sound entirely Eastern European anymore. It doesn't sound German. It sounds like something that people cannot really point out or pinpoint. But it's what it is. It's just life that happens, and then you just work with what you have.
No, it speaks to your experiences. Thank you, brother. So we had a conversation on our phone, an email. Sorry, and you gave me some pointers that you'd like us to go through. Yeah. I think we tweaked it just a little bit, but it's mostly what you wanted to go through. And I'd like us to go through those now.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure in what process we'll place it, but I hope you don't mind. We'll just go one at a time. If we need to go back, it's okay.
Okay, I mean, you could do it at everything, but I think what probably makes sense is like, how did we start, or how all this relates to South Africa? I guess that's what people
I think
want
that's
to know,
a good place to start.
And then we can start with the idea, and then go from there through all the other stuff. I said we have to be careful with that because we don't want people to start crucifying us.
Don't worry about being crucified. I think, look, I have a lot of problems with this country.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that we actually generally have freedom of speech here. As long as you're not hatefully saying something about someone, but we're actually allowed to criticize our politicians, discuss culture, race, as deeply as we can.
Yeah, that's true, but you know how people react when you tell something that's maybe a little bit more controversial, not necessarily false, but it also depends on the way you say it. So that's
They get
what I'm
upset.
saying.
But this is how we all learn.
Yeah.
This is how we all learn. Please, sir, how it came to be that you would have an experience about South Africa which would spark an idea for you. And you finding out about Coloureds and black and white dynamics in this country.
Yeah, so that was actually a pretty funny thing. I have been introduced to somebody from Cape Town. He also is in the film industry, and his name is Nizam, and he's obviously colored. So we were like thinking for a while, because we were speaking for a while actually, and we kind of like figured out we get along, so let's find a way to do something. And we were thinking, okay, maybe it would be cool if we do like a little documentary or maybe like commercial or something that just could be like a little bit more internationally set up.
Sure.
And we were set up to have a phone call on a date. And I remember this was just on the Christmas or shortly before the Christmas, before COVID. And then he was working for an advertising agency back then as a production manager. And I said, okay, I'm just going to pick up a client from the airport. And once I get home, then we can, start brainstorming. I said, okay, cool. I'm just going to wait. And then waiting, no Nizam. I'm still waiting, no Nizam. And I told him, just send him a WhatsApp, what's going on? So, I just late that, I'm still at the airport. And then still waiting for the client. I'm going to message you, we're running late. So at some point, he came home and it was already I think 9 p.m. was already late. I said, what's going on? I mean, it doesn't take 2 hours to pick up somebody from the airport. And he said, no, but first of all, something was late, I think flight or whatsoever. But then he was trying to get parking. I don't know, because I haven't been on the Cape Town airport so far. And he said, just as I park, one of those taxis pulls in and then the guy jumps out. I said, no, you cannot park here. I say, why? And then they started to getting into an argument. He's just telling I'm going to pick up somebody. And then the driver of the taxi said, now you are racist. And he said, well, I am almost as black as you. And I was, okay, what does that even mean?
Yeah. Almost as black as you.
Yeah. And that was kind of like a trap, because at the beginning I was also, the first time I was confronted with the different identities around here. I didn't know what it means, because he's, dark, so it's not like.
Sure.
And what does actually mean? And then he explained a little bit about Colored, and that's they're not considered black here. And then for the time being we left it that. But then a couple of days later it began to bug me. I want to know more.
Sure.
Because I'm just a curious person. And then he told me a little bit more, and I told him, well, what do you think is going to happen in the future with all those identities here? And he said, well, I also have little hope that something's going to change.
Sure.
And we started brainstorming. Okay, let's maybe do something about it, just a project.
Yeah.
And then build it up around that. What's going to happen in the future here, South Africa?
Yeah.
And a couple of generations, maybe.
You know what's interesting? Okay, so first and foremost, Nizam is not a colored name. I know in this country, if you hear it, chances are it's a colored guy.
Yeah.
It's an Arabic name, so it's someone that's probably Islamic.
Yeah.
So if you Muslim, you could be black and named Nizam. But I know a lot of colored guys. If you hear Nizam, it's probably a colored guy.
Yeah.
The second thing is, people in South Africa may not understand what you're saying until Nizam is calling you in Bulgaria or in Germany, and you're telling him a story. I went to go and pick up someone from the airport. I was going to park, and the taxi guy said, go away. And I said, but why must I go away? I'm almost as white as you. Yeah. A black South African wouldn't understand what that means. He'd be like, but you're white. He's white. And you're like, that's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get what this person was saying, because where we come from, there's black and white. If you're not white, then you're black. This concept that there's colored or something else in another country is weird. And in this country in particular, which is one of the most unique stories.
Yes.
I'm not sure how popular it is in the world. We had laws that were based on whether you're white, mixed race, black,
Yeah.
Indian, and it would determine where you get to live, where you get to work, what type of service and education you get to have. And we're in 2026 now, and those laws, we're still living through the legacies of them as well.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we were when we were doing the writing and brainstorming. It's not easy to let go of that stuff. It's not like you can just wake up tomorrow and say, "Hey, we're not going to be all just South Africans."
Sure.
It's not going to happen so easily.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously I started doing research on my own. That's always a little bit dangerous here because you find the most controversial stuff that doesn't really represent what the majority of people think.
You're right. You're
but,
very right.
But those are the voices that find the most attention and that you get confronted with at the beginning. So during the process, learning all that stuff, he also had to pull me back a little bit because that's cool. You can just implement it somehow. I said, no, we're gonna get all killed if we do it. So you need to find a middle ground at some point, but still get your opinion across. And I think what's interesting about the setup here, not just the Coloureds story, is that I think one of the things is people always try to compare this to America, and I think that's wrong.
We are heavily influenced by America, by the way.
But you have a different setup here. So
correct.
Over there, what the thing is, you don't what out there. Just got start from the beginning because I think that.
No worries. Would you like some tissue?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
So let's just start from the beginning. So what's different here in terms of the setup or how the society is set up, you don't have a common South African identity like an umbrella above everything else.
Yes.
While over there, everybody's American. Sure, they say white, black, Asian American, Hispanic, and all that stuff. But first and foremost, they're Americans in identity.
You're right.
By no means we're trying to downplay, the past over there, but they have been molded into one society. I have the experience of going 4th of July to Pearl Harbor for a celebration, and then when they start playing the national anthem and that stuff, everybody stands up and salutes. There's no whites over here, blacks over there, Hispanics over there. So while over here is the contrary. Everybody they try to keep you all apart as much as possible. The word that is being used. That's I think one of the things that people always fail to understand. So we're not talking about skin color. I'm talking about you're black, but you're Zulu.
Yes.
So
you're right. Our identity doesn't start with nationalism like they do in America.
Yeah. So here people are white, but Afrikaans were British. At least back then. So now we have different kinds.
Normally, our ethnicity starts depending on who you ask. Ethnicity and race are very close.
Yes.
So black Zulu or Zulu black, as an example, white Afrikaner or Afrikaner who's white.
Yeah.
Before you get to I'm a South African, you're very right.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that if you think about that, then a lot of the other stuff makes sense that happens here and over there too. But when people are having those kinds of conversations, they always miss that point. I've watched a bunch of things. That's why when colored South Africans go over there and they say they're colored, it's always all the drama.
Yes.
Because something I learned through this process, context not just matters, context sometimes is everything.
Yes.
So I have to think about the background and what they're actually saying before starting all those beefs online and all the other bullshit that actually is a non-burger for the Americans, why they get so upset. Because if they actually understand what it means, it doesn't affect them at all. It's what do you call it? It's just something that they do from what do you call it? Like reflex. They just react before they think, and that's why it gets contentious, and then people start arguing. Because I've pitched the project over there too, so I know what's going on, and I try to explain what it is, and then when actually people listen, they're shocked that people here insist to be called colored.
Because it's a derogatory term there.
But it was meant for black people over there. So and then they don't understand why there's different over here. And then the most confusing thing that happens is when they see that people who are colored actually look all different.
Sure.
And that's when they completely lose it, if you want to put it that way. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that here's ethnicity maybe first and color second, while over there, because everybody's American, then it's color first. So you have to like grasp those concepts.
Sure. And you're right, it doesn't matter. It's everything. It's the beginning of your identity before we even engage.
Exactly, because but in Europe it's actually not much of a difference. Sure, somebody is white, but you know they can be Portuguese or Norwegian. It's like a completely different language, mentality, and all that other stuff that comes first. Before, I mean, being white is probably not in the top three.
Sure.
What
comes first? Is it Europe or their country?
It's a country still.
Country and then Europe and then later on race.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like it's that's why I'm saying it's like similar. Like here, you say okay, you're black, but you're Zulu first and then black. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're Afrikaans first and then white. So let's just do like an example. Me as a white person, can I just move to Orania?
Sure.
But am I gonna be feeling home there? I don't think so.
They won't allow you because you're not Afrikaans.
Exactly.
The first problem,
that's the first problem. Even if I learn the language, I'm still, there's still a lot of other criteria I need to cross off the list before. So what is it like first before the race? And because the classifications here were used like interchangeably with race, but they're actually not meant to be solely based on race, it gets confusing when it gets really confusing when you start thinking about it in American terms. So you have to like switch to the different terms, and then you actually start to understand way better why things they are the way they are here. And if you want to do something about it, that's what you call the national question.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is the first question is, what do you want to be from here on?
What do you want to be?
Yeah, because let's forget the skin color from, put it aside for a moment. What kind of a lead culture and language do you want to have here? Because right now we have 11, I think, official languages.
Yeah, 12 official languages, but 11 cultures, because the 12th one is sign language.
Yeah. So do you think it can stay that way for long or forever? I have my doubts.
You're asking me?
Yeah, asking you.
Oof. This is such a deep question. And you're very right. It is the national question. I know we've also got a black question and we've got an African question as well. You know, the interesting thing, what you're saying about Oranje and Afrikaans is you're very right, because I've had the privilege of visiting there and sitting with some of the leaders. Yeah. They say it's Afrikaans. So then the following question becomes, what if I'm not white? Yeah. What if I'm colored or black, but I'm Afrikaans? Then it starts getting a bit dirty or a bit difficult and tricky.
Yeah.
Looking at what direction we're going in, because we have to base it on the past, where we are. I do think a lot of the cultures are going to disappear, realistically speaking. Mm-hmm. I say this in the context of a lot of my generation and our children, who, number one, can't really speak our indigenous languages at all or as well as we used to. Mm-hmm. We also don't speak it as well as our parents and our grandparents. So language is fading. Number two, the way we dress now, we don't dress the way we used to. So you can't look at me. You'd say maybe with the Jewish guy with the... What is their hats called? I'm sorry.
Kappa.
The kappa.
Yeah.
Or Muslim, the attire and the woman with the hijabs. Yeah. You can say, oh, you are Muslim. Are you from India or from the Middle East? Or, but we don't have an identifying clothing anymore in our different cultures. We do it on special occasions, but generally we don't. A lot of us speak English. A lot of us. There are some in the western part of the country who speak Afrikaans, but a lot of us speak English. We find it weird when we meet white people that don't speak English, when we meet other Indian or black people, when we meet black people who speak French, for us it's weird. We're like, you can't speak English. And they're thinking, why would I speak English?
Yeah.
So we were colonized English, and we've embraced it as a language. The way we live, the food we eat is same burgers and chips like everyone else. So we've been globalized in that regard. So when I just look at how we've been moving, some people are trying to hold on to language, but they're not really doing a good job because they're not really enforcing it at home.
Yeah.
No one is holding on to the clothes. No one is holding on to the food. No one is holding on to the beliefs, because a lot of South Africans are Christian. And no one is holding on to the lifestyle. The Muslims pray 5 times a day. Yeah. Africans won't tell you that maybe at midday we all sing a song or whenever we meet each other, this is how we greet. Maybe we rub noses or there's a specific. We don't have that.
Yeah.
So we're literally being culturalized into a Western, British, American type of way. So my opinion is in future, we can hold on to it for now, but I see it eroding.
Okay, I mean, that's, I guess it's a valid point.
Yeah.
So what we did, but with our story was thought experiment. What's going to happen if it goes the other way?
Okay, where people
clinch into those.
Okay.
So and
that's
then,
brilliant.
So that's what, and it's supposed to be a little bit of a warning because some people, think if they let go, the world is going to end. But you want to show them, what kind of what the road is going to look like if they insist to clinch on those identity for like not for what the word would be like to clinch or to retain those identities at any cost. So what we did was like, how it's gonna fuck out everything. So that was the question.
Sure.
So, it's not solely because of that, but because you don't have the social cohesion of one united society.
Yeah.
When things start going to shit because of external factors, what do people do? They run to the thing they know best.
Correct.
Meaning their identity. Then everybody starts clinching.
You're right.
And not letting go. And then gradually it turns into kind of like, everybody gets their homeland, if you want to put it that way. Not peacefully, not everybody gets exactly what they want.
True.
But that's how they end up in the future. And they still, it's kind of like a cycle thing. Still keep going with each other without be able to commit to a peace at all. Or to all out war. So it's kind of like, there's a war, there's a generation of peace, and then it goes again and again and again and again. But the thing that they really they don't just clinch those identity, they develop them further. Basically, the division grows. So we're talking like 700 years from now. So
700 years.
Yeah.
Assuming that everyone focuses on their ethnic group.
So that's what happens. And I'm actually happier to still think about the clothing because that's something you addressed. So in the future, they all dress according to their identities.
Sure.
So then it starts making sense. You know what I'm saying? Like you see a Zulu.
Yes. Because
From
you
top
see
to
how
bottom,
they dress.
yeah. You see Afrikaner. It's a little bit difficult to get, but it's still you can imagine an attire that would be appropriate for somebody in the future. You see Xhosa, you see British, and then you have Coloureds, which is a little bit. That was actually a little bit difficult to get what kind of a costume, but we kind of like managed to develop a solution for that.
Taking creative license.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was one of the things. So because we wanted to make sure that when people watch it, it's not just gonna be about what they look like, but as a skin color, because that's how Americans perceive it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be how they speak, different accents, with a little bit of slang, not too much. So it's still international.
Internationally palatable.
But yeah, people
or palatable
understand it,
to an international
but
audience.
when you hear them, you can hear that they're distinctively different.
Sure.
So that's the one thing. And then obviously the dressing and even the architecture, it's all based on their identity. So that's the one of the things that we put a lot of work into. And that's also what makes it so expensive.
I can imagine.
All the period pieces, they have, if it's past or present, costume is always a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And when producers hear about that stuff, they always like,
they have a heart attack.
Yeah, you get a heart attack because, and especially if there's a VFX, that's most of the time, this combined is over like 50% of the budget or even more. But it is just what it is because also people, if it's done right, people love it when they watch it, And I always, because I went through a lengthy process about trying to get actors on board, trying to get funding, and all that stuff. And I learned a lot. I wish I knew it at the beginning.
Yeah.
For example, I didn't know that most of those South African actors represented by American agencies. You know,
Are you serious?
Yeah.
The big ones.
Yes.
I also didn't know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So
most of the big South African actors are represented by American agencies.
Yeah, some I think have also British ones, but yes, it's pretty much they also. So they have like I think local agencies for like the local jobs, but for the other jobs. So and then when you go with something like that over there, then try to explain what exactly we're doing, and then the other thing is, that's the one that I'm personally very disappointed to it, is, you know, they sell it like this world. I'm not talking about that, just talking about the agencies, you know, those representatives. They all sell it like it's some kind of a crazy high value network.
Yeah.
But know what it is? It's like getting the tender here. And what happens is, like, you know, we talk to politicians before you can do anything.
True.
They want to know what kind of split they're going to get. So that's pretty much
crazy.
it. Yeah. And that's how you need to treat it. So at the beginning, it was like very nice and trying to explain. Nobody cares about your project and about all that. They care about the tender. If you want to put South African context.
It's about the money and how much they're going to get.
Yeah, and it's not just about the money, it's about influence, because all those big agencies, they kind of like canvas all the talent from around, what they can get. And when somebody starts pitching a project or you want to get talent, you have to go to them so they can set up conditions, meaning sometimes it's like not even about money. They want just to negotiate certain stuff that you don't even really think about it before that, and they want to package it with people they work with. So it's kind of like a politics a lot, and you can have the best possible project in the world. So what you have to have an access to somebody or funding or anything. Otherwise, they don't care. You know, that's why you see so much CAC on TV because it's a system, and you need to learn to navigate through it. So that has been like a learning curve of how to do that. And the other thing that was not necessarily difficult, but I had to learn this one because we were pitching as an international project. I mean, it is set up here and it's unique, but it is open to, so you don't need to know all the background stuff when you watch it to understand what it is about. Because also it's an expensive thing to make. So if it's just a local project, nobody's going to finance it. And then I don't have like a so big connection, but I still know some people in the States. And when I was showing it to them, like everybody, the recipe is you get a black actor attached. They go big name, and they're gonna solve your problems, but meaning American black actors. So then I have to sit with somebody and explain all that stuff that it takes maybe 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes, but like a relative short time to somebody who's from South Africa to understand. Then imagine someone who is American, even if it's a good actor, speaking with a colored accent, with a black accent, with all those little slang words used around here. I don't say it's impossible, but it's not something you can do right off the bat. So you need to like put a lot of work and research.
Correct.
And usually those people, they want to just have something that looks shiny, and it's just gonna make them look good among their peers, if you know what I'm saying. So, and I was like, feel like some kind of a idiot, not idiot, but that kind of like it gets really annoying when I have to like say there is a social component to this, and if you ignore it, it's just going to be some kind of a glorified Wakanda bullshit, which is not what we're doing. Sure, there's action and there is shiny stuff, effects and costumes and all that, but that's more of the backdrop. Is the social interactions that actually matter in the project, and what you're trying to tell with it, and not feeding into somebody's ego. So that was like a learn, because if you do like an independent movie, it's a little bit easier because you can shoot something and maybe get a a pre-sales deal or something like that, just to get you going. With the TV show, it's harder because if a network is going to buy it, it has to be packaged. And if you want to package it the way, meaning they want to see that people who are in it have a track record of basically making their money. You know, they can promote the show, not just acting it, promote it. It goes from the showrunner to the actors, directors. So you have to go through all those agencies because all the people who have the track record are at the agency, and then they're gonna ask you, "Oh, do you already have a deal with the Netflix? Do you already have funding?" And you get into the chicken and egg situation.
Sure.
So you have to like really have audacity. The second thing is you have to have a lot of tenacity and I would say endurance.
Yeah.
Just go and then learn. It's not about good or not good. Everything is about being able to navigate politics.
I'd like to ask for a favor.
Do that.
I want us to pause on the TV show.
Okay.
I want us to make a separate video on what you need.
Okay.
So that we almost make it a pitch video on this is the support we need from the South African government and the different stakeholders. We'll speak about it.
So we're going to turn to the camera and say, Gaten McKenzie,
No.
pitch it.
No, not to Gaten.
Sorry.
If we may.
Yeah, sure.
And then for 10 minutes as we end off this video, I want us to just finish up and wrap up on the colored story and the cultural story, just for 10 minutes on the importance of that, because I know it was in our notes.
Yeah.
And then we'll make another video. 30, 40 minutes, whatever, where I want us to almost sit in a business type of meeting. Where you're literally pitching this to me as someone who might be able to get some of the people here. And then where possible, maybe to also speak to the global stakeholders, your Netflix, Amazon, and see if any of them might be. But we can have a business meeting after this 10 minutes. I don't know if that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just a quick think about it. So Born in Bull, I told you, I kind of like, it happened by chance. We connected over Instagram. You know who she is, You always know each other. But point is, I just make a joke. So she said already spoke to Netflix Africa. They said it's not the budgets we work, so you have to go to the international team.
Sure.
And that's where you need to get what do you call it? The people or people involved who have international market value in terms of actors and showrunner, and all those people, as we said. Agencies, even the South African ones, are like, I can tell you, so probably not going to do it to the camera, but I can tell you which one we tried.
Sure.
And it's like you're running into the wall, but not because of the actor, not because they're not going to want to do it or because they would be against it, because the managers, they want to see who are you, who is behind you, what they can squeeze out of you.
Of course.
So it's all that stuff, Of
course.
That's why I wasn't making joke about Gaten.
No problem. But we'll talk about it. And it's worth raising his name as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Some of the notes that I want us to cover in these 10 minutes. There's a quote you wanted to give from Marika de Klerk.
Yeah, so I
Number
know
one. Number two, I'll raise them again if you forget. Let's see, we covered most of these other things, why the term colored is contentious, especially with Americans. You mentioned the Population Registration Act.
Yes.
I think a lot of South Africans will understand this, and maybe as the show comes into fruition and the discussions around it, this will also be very important. You told the story, colored people, not white enough, not black enough. We covered that. Whether the colored identity began with apartheid or whether the system formalized something that already existed, I think is something interesting. And in that, why colonial settlers chose the K word as a tool of diminishment. So the quote by Marika de Klerk, when the colored identity actually began and why colonial settlers chose the K word, we're free to speak on it on this platform, being kafir or kafir, because we're discussing it in an academic
I don't
context.
need to mention it. I mean, I know why I raise this, because it feels into this cultural thing. So we're good now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when the first time when I found it, I was like, why this word? Because I know what it is.
You've heard it before.
Yeah, in our own history, it was used. We were on the Ottoman rule, the Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
And they used it classification again for the Christian population. That's basically the original name, original sense of the word, which means infidel, hidden, and it was
non-believer.
Non-believer, yeah.
Kafir.
Yeah. So that's what. And I was thinking, why did particular? Because it's not color-based word, it's not race-based word originally.
Originally, yeah.
But I think, and this is also for me, just me, right? I don't want to get somebody in trouble, but I think the kind of thinking behind all this in the system was they came here, they encountered the people who were already here, and then obviously race was one thing, but culturally or socially they were so far away from them,
Yes.
or so different. And back then you have to think that's what 15th, 16th century.
Yes.
The whites up there
Believe they were civilized.
They were civilized. That's the one thing, but they also believed, it's only one social order there and all that stuff. So, and then obviously, I would say they had a little bit of a stick up their ass in terms of like because people now are not so Christian as they were back then. Like so strictly raised to have just a very narrow worldview. I'm just trying to explain it with my words, but I think that was like the mentality back then. Sorry. And then, they come over here, and then the people were so vastly different.
Yes.
So I'm choosing those words to actually...
I'm going to help you when you're done. Don't worry.
Make sense. But the point is that I think that was maybe not intentionally, but like subconsciously, that's what we were thinking. Those people are so different from us.
Sure.
Obviously, not in a good way. So we don't want to downplay it.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, and that's why the word came to fruition, because back then black people weren't Christian.
So let me try and help you. I can see you struggling. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I want, you
don't want to offend people.
Yeah, I want to make it a little bit also not to offend them.
Yes.
What I'm trying to do is like to present them with, because obviously I'm not Colored. I didn't grow up in the Cape Flats and all that, but I want to. So I'm not qualified to speak from personal experience, but I think I'm qualified to offer a different point of view. And I think if people understand what we're trying to say in terms of thinking, it would make it easier for them to see things a little bit of a different light. So
Correct.
That's what I'm trying to do.
So, one of the things we're struggling with in this country is black people were oppressed, were made to feel like less than human.
Yes.
There are a lot of white South Africans who were also trained in a certain way to see people in a certain way, and they are also prisoners of the same conditioning.
Yes.
So they might think they're superior, they might think, but what happened with apartheid and why we're here is they've now missed out on good relationships with black, colored, Indian, just because they're not white.
Yeah.
They've missed out on people that can fund their businesses, on job opportunities, on learning about medicine, technology, because they were told those people are non-believers, they're heathens, they're kafirs. Which when you're coming as let's say a British settler, you're dressed in your attire, you speak English, the Queen's English, you are a Christian, and you're meeting people that look like they're naked, like monkeys. So they look primitive, they look like apes. So you're like, no, but these are the apes. And if ever they decided to use the word ape, maybe that would have been the word that becomes the derogatory. But you guys are just monkeys. And you're like, we hate that word. And if you're like, do you understand where it comes from? It comes from people that came to a place where you guys were living with nature.
Yes.
And to them, they saw it in that way.
Yeah.
And then it became derogatory. But the origin was just a non-believer, which today now has been used in that way. But I think the same way a lot of black people don't know the origin of the word, a lot of white people don't know the origin. To them, the origin is a black South African that I don't like is that. And you're like, no, there's actually a history behind it. And once you understand that, let's say you're a Christian. If the black person is a Christian, you can't call him a non-believer. That's kind of silly.
It is, yes.
If the white person is a non-believer, then that term should apply to him.
Exactly.
But it's because we don't understand the origins, and people have weaponized certain words in a certain way, and it imprisons all of us. Like the prisoner and the prison warder are both in the same prison.
Exactly. That's the point I was trying to make. And it's very difficult to move away from those patterns. Because I think, before somebody makes an informative decision, they need to have the right information and not just make it based on what somebody had on TikTok.
Correct.
Or they just read a quote somebody. So they need to like sit down and actually read a book or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 maybe. And I think that's nowadays too much of an expectation for a lot of people. Sadly. But then if you do that, you will be less vulnerable to all kind of triggers.
And just propaganda.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the K word. There's a quote by Margaret de Klerk, and where the colored identity began with apartheid.
So let's see how to get this said, because I would send Nizam the quotes. He said, if you say this, they're gonna, So, but I think what we're
Please
trying.
feel free. We're having an academic conversation, so I'd like to think you're safe.
Oh no, I'm safe, but I just want to actually make people understand something and not just go on your TikTok and Facebook and say same things again. You know what I'm saying? So I think when they were doing that stuff with the Registration Act, the same thing what you said, actually, that's why I'm glad you raised it. Nowadays you cannot see, but back then you see an Azure person, okay, you see an Afrikaans person, and you hear them speak. So that's the other thing. So because I went to actually read the whole thing, and it said that's when they were defining who is what, they didn't just look at what people physically look like. They also took into consideration language and culture and all that stuff. So, and if you look back then, the way in my opinion is, the society over here was always like based on strict categories, and at some point they decided to make it even worse for selfish reasons, I would say, and I don't even know how it makes sense, but okay, I mean, somebody came with this nonsense concept that you can just put people in those bubbles and somehow it's going to be okay long term. Sure. It didn't go well.
Sure, but they were trying to divide a group of people, because if they didn't, let's say you are 10% white, and you're trying to dominate 90% black, you will lose. So the best thing is to divide into 9 groups of black, and then give them different names, and then where possible get them to sort of not like each other, that you beat this one and you beat that one. You're not fighting all of them at once. It's a very good strategy, but some would debate whether it's worked or not, but it looks like it didn't work the way they wanted it to work.
I don't think either. And so then the other thing is, so they created those categories, right? And then white, at that point, at least the way I perceive it, when they said white, they meant Afrikaans and British, because back then that was the white population. Correct. Here. But that was their point and frame of reference when they're saying somebody's white. So then when they were saying somebody's black, in the paper, the act, it was saying a person who was of Bantu origin and a native. So they didn't say black. Sure. It said native, and it's also based on language and all that. So, and then you had always, like in every society, you had people who you couldn't really put in one of those categories, be it because of the way they speak, way they look, maybe all of it. So they put them all together. Although most of, especially like Western Cape, the identity was there before, but from what I understand, it wasn't like so separated or segregated from the others. And then they made it for like everybody who couldn't fit in the other. So like, somebody shows up there in what it was Home Affairs, and then they start asking them questions, and they were like tests from what I understand. But if you give them like a confusing result, if you want that way, or based on their mindset, and then that's how you ended up in the colored category.
I come looking like this. I'm speaking Afrikaans.
Yes.
Already they're confused.
Yeah. So pretty much it wasn't just a race or a skin color thing. And that's why, from what I know, there are people who kind of were able to transition from color to white or from black to colored. So there was
interesting.
At least I read about it. So I know that some people were like white passing, so they were able to move into, or some also separated, like families. So that was like probably the most tragic part.
Trevor Noah speaks about that. Being born a crime. My father's white. He gets to stay there. My mom is black. But I'm also not black, I'm not white, I'm this thing. So I'm also in a different space.
Yeah. And
now you're splitting a family up.
Yeah. And then what's the most, for me, the most quite fascinating thing is, because the identity exists before, but they kind of like cemented it, if you will, like really manage to put boundaries around it, if you like. And then obviously when people live in a certain way socially and then pass it on to their children and they have a certain experience, then that goes into identity. So
Yeah.
they made their own story in a way.
Yeah.
That's what happens, and it's still happening from what I know.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I hear, this also happens here, like every time something boils up, in a public space, and then this debate, black, colored, white, comes up. I've heard a lot of time, like, people get, African, are you not African, and all that stuff. But then and they say, well, we're not black and not white, what they actually mean. So meaning with the white part, where even if we share a language with Afrikaner, we're still not Africans because culturally we're different, different mentality. And with black people, even if we look the same, we're on a same day basis, we're different. So that's what they're saying. Not like I'm not black by skin color. That's not what they mean. At least that's my take most of the time. And if you look at the cultures, they're really different. So there is no way to speak about it, in any other way. So that's what it is. They're just different. So that's why it is so difficult for to find a solution for what you call the national question, because if things happen naturally and all those identities somehow merge into one, and then fine, everything's going to be fine in a couple of generations, and then people are going to move on. But if they don't, you're requesting somebody to give up everything they know just to become something else, and that never sits good with people. It's always like, just forget everything you experienced, everything you've been taught, and from today or from tomorrow you're going to be something else. So that has never worked. But when in society, unless you're kind of like able to convince people to I got a cramp.
Sorry.
No, because I just moved my leg. So I think that's the real problem, and I don't see any real will for a solution on political level here. I mean, they're just using it because if you take that out of the equation, 90% of the politicians here, they don't have anything to run on.
You're right. Race, ethnicity, and those things are still very big campaigning tools.
Yeah. But if you ask them, how are you going to create jobs for the people who are in the township? What kind of answer do you get?
Vote for me.
Yeah. Well,
then you'll get the jobs. The only way to get the jobs is to vote for me. What's your solution? I'll have the solution when you vote for me.
Yeah. And that's after the election, it ends, and then we have the next cycle, and it goes nowhere. But
you're right.
I think that's one of the things that that's difficult to manage, or to find a solution that is acceptable for everybody. I'm not going to say that everyone's going to be happy, but if you offer them enough incentive, you might just be able to find a way to move forward. Because I have the feeling that people are stuck in that thing. So you go about your day, you go about this and that, but when you go home, after work, everybody's still black, white, colored, and Indian, right? So you don't like, okay, we're just gonna do something tonight. No, I mean, at least for the majority of people, that's still the kind of life they have, and that's why what we do with our project is kind of like, they're probably gonna come a time when things are gonna get serious, and then the country is gonna be set up. Not on a collision course, but there will be a trial. So, and if you don't learn to stick somehow socially with each other, find a way forward, then you're gonna get catapulted into the past, and you're not gonna be able to move forward. You're not gonna be able to develop more, further, because society always it's not a stagnant thing. It's something that always develops and changes, but because here everything was kind of like artificially on hold, if you want, you never were able to merge into one. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the thing that we are saying, or we're trying to raise awareness with. What happens if you continue to put it on hold? So how it's gonna end? And it's a negative outlook, it's a negative take, but people are also supposed to get second thoughts about all this, and start questioning. And maybe, if enough people do that, and then they start getting a little bit more exposure to different opinions and different information, they might be able to find a different path forward, not just the one that's always like the negative, and everything's gonna fuck out.
Sure.
So yeah.
I don't know if you still want to raise the quote from Marika de Klerk.
I mean,
This is my last question, and then we're done.
So I say rather not, but maybe what we can say is like, basically when they were thinking of dividing it, they were speaking more about nations and less about or ethnicities, if you like, then less about skin color.
Sure.
And the thing that they had in mind in their mindset in David was like, they have, as I said, you have Afrikaans, you have Zulus, you have Venda, and so on and so on. And then you come to the people who have Indians, because she also said they're a separatist group.
Sure.
But then you have a group of people who kind of like, where do they belong?
Yeah.
Because there was, in every society you have people who break boundaries. You don't like necessarily conform to the accepted social norm.
Sure.
That doesn't mean they're not part of society.
Yeah.
And so there was something else I was trying to say. I just forgot.
Sorry.
No, it's all good about what was it about? So yeah, nations. So in a way, you don't have a colored nation yet.
True.
But if things start breaking apart and it really, starts separating parts of the country, or like breaking up, that's going to happen as well at some point. I mean, it's I would just give another example. Remember 2021, the July, when Obama was there?
Riots.
The riots.
Bob Zuma.
Yeah. Without getting political, just what happened, what was, I think, in KZN and Durban with the Indians?
Yes.
How quickly people went, we're this, we're that.
Correct. In Phoenix, there were some Zulu black people that were killed.
Yeah.
And then it became very
tense.
Racist. Yeah, I won't call it tribalist. Very racist with the Indians and the black Zulu people.
Yeah, but you know how I think I saw some videos of white people who were also like in groups over there.
Yeah.
But point is, things go to shit, people will revert to that kind of a thinking immediately.
You're right.
And then there is no, you're in between, you don't want to take sides.
Yeah.
That's not how the game is played, unfortunately. True. And it's not just here, it's everywhere, but because here everything is still so tense because of the past, it's kind of way more difficult to make people change their thinking. So that's what it is about.
Okay. Zhelyaz Tomov. Let's close off this episode.
Okay.
I want to say thank you very much. I've made videos before about the complexities of the colored community in this country. I think it's mixed race because, like you said, we don't know where to place people, and colored became a culture that some people identified with. It's a conversation that still needs to be had in South Africa, specifically by people that identify as colored. I'm not putting it on government to do this. And I appreciate that you, as a non-South African, from an outside with your own perspective, are coming to help.
I mean,
I think that's brilliant.
I think it's a story that's worth telling, especially because the outside world also doesn't know about it. So I think we also, as filmmakers or like media personalities, call it whatever you want to call it, we have a little bit of responsibility to not just make something fancy,
sure,
and have stars or big visual effects, anything that we also have a responsibility to enact some kind of a social change, or at least some kind of awareness.
Yes.
And even if it sounds old school, but that's something I believe in, and this is just something that's outside of South Africa, even inside. It's not really so much talked about, or it's unknown, but it's a symptom of a society that doesn't know what to do with itself, in a way. So that's kind of the perspective I get without anybody starting to feel less. It's just that unless you find a way for everybody to feel a part, or really not just a part, but to feel appreciated for being part of it.
Sure.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking forward to our business
Yeah.
video, but this is the end of this one.
Okay.
My brother from Bulgaria, Mr. Tomov. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.